Greetings and welcome to the second season of Conversations That Connect, featuring Suki and Tayla, brought to you by Montague Group. In this season, we delve into insightful discussions with prominent industry leaders, exploring the intricacies of life, success, and the dynamics of the current market. So join us as we navigate the essential connections required for success in both personal and professional spaces.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations That Connect. Today, we have another very special guest joining us. We have Melinda. Melinda is a very successful Queensland business development manager for a national company and has a passion for mental health for her consultants and clients. So welcome, Melinda.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to our conversations today.
Perfect. Why don't we start by just giving a brief background to our listeners to, how you got to where you are today?
It's quite an interesting story. And when I started to write this down and reflect on it yesterday, it was quite cathartic in, really sort of, having a look at where you've come from, your picture, even though we don't want to focus on where we've come from, but it really sets us up for the future and how, where we are able to develop through that. So I started out as a hairdresser, and I did that for a lot of years until I had my two children. And when I was having my children, I actually had quite a bit of postnatal depression, which really stopped me in my tracks to really have a look at life, where I was sitting as a wife, as a mother, as a successful person moving forward. So that was really good. In that time, I found a lot of holistic therapies, one which was Reiki, which was amazing. I then was working in our family business, which was also very, very full on. And in this time, I decided to take a bit of a step back for myself. And then I was really interested in Reiki, the alternative therapies. I then studied anatomy and physiology. Then I loved the essence of the counselling. So I then learned, I went back to school, I suppose, and became a holistic counsellor. With all of that, it was fantastic and great, but there was something else that was lacking. So I joined the corporate world, and then I became an account manager and looked after a team of probably about 25. Loved the job. Was in it for around 8 years. So there's a lot of travel and a lot of pressure. So then I had burnout. Again, the universe was saying, let's sit down and have a look at which direction we need to go next. So with that, I got asked to join a company to grow the business. And so within this company, I was able to grow the business within 100%, which I thought was fabulous. And then, of course, COVID hit. We had droughts, we had fire, then COVID hit. Then my long-term marriage of 32 years broke down. And then, of course, I then moved to the Gold Coast to be closer to family. And then, of course, here we are today. So I'm back in the corporate world, but learning a lot of skills and things that I learned along the way through having relationships with people, through having relationships with myself. I think that's all a really important part of our journey, is to actually be able to sit and have a look at, okay, that's been really lovely, but what's next? Where do I need to go next? And how am I going to achieve that with having, the support from others around us? So that's been my journey so far. Yeah.
I love when you say it was cathartic to sit down and look at the story. I think in our job, Tayla, we always talk about somebody is not just a person.
Yeah,
it's a person with a story. We all have a story, and the story is really important.
Yeah,
because it led you, like you said, it led you to where you are today and all the different experience that you've gone through. And that's why I was so excited to have you on the podcast, because I think you bring this very unique perspective and experience to the table, having the counseling background and having the education in the counseling side from an academic perspective. but not sitting in an office with a couch and say, sit down and tell me about your story, but you're actually in the corporate world and experiencing on a day-to-day basis what work is and what the balancing act is that we do have to have. And it is a balancing act and trying to keep everything in balance, yourself included, and family and relationships and everything else. So I was excited about the fact that you're coming onto the podcast and coming to have a conversation to us. It almost feels to me like the real world. This is what happens on a daily basis. This is the baggage I bring, my luggage to the table. But then very much that awareness of, from a leadership perspective, looking after yourself, your own mental well-being, but then also the people that you are responsible for, and how we put that into practice. So welcome from my side as well. I was really excited about this conversation, to have a bit of a practical take on mental health and how we look at it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Tayla, do you want to jump into one or two of the topics we spoke about and just let's delve into that and get Melinda's thoughts around it?
Yeah, perfect. So we did a little bit of brainstorming and what we thought was really relevant to today. So we're going into the end of the year. People are experiencing burnout, fatigue, just sort of everything. I know, like myself, we were only just talking about this. We are exhausted. It's been a big year, and, just really, we've got 5 weeks left. So really just some little things that we can do as leaders and as employees, how we can get through these next 5 weeks until we have a break. So some of the the main one that we thought of was providing a supportive culture. So again, and it does come back to, we are a package deal. We're not just an individual. We're a partner, a mother, a daughter, a cook, a cleaner, everything. So I think when it comes to leaders providing that supportive culture, that could, I think it's really necessary, because they feel empowered to be able to come to you and express their feelings. They could come and say, I'm not feeling that well today. And then that leader could provide sort of, okay, what do you need me to do to take something off your plate? So I guess that whole supportive culture, obviously it doesn't work it should work in every organization, but some people don't have that, that culture. So I guess just what are some of the things that we could provide?
How do you create that culture in the first place? And it's the culture is almost like this magic word, but it doesn't just like poof, there it is. It's hard work to create that culture.
Look, and I think it needs to start from the very beginning. It starts at the recruitment style. It starts with how you feel about the person that's getting employed into that role. It's then whether that culture is going to, whether that culture is going to gel with them. It's then whether they're going to get along with their team leaders, their team, their team, and then it's going to be the style. So it all comes back to the beginning at recruitment, the very start. So that's, I suppose, your jobs are so important with that, with aligning the right candidate to the right position. And when you do get that, you have magic, because, then you put in if you're working in the right team, they will then give that person the goals, the understanding of what's expected, the processes that need to be followed. And if that's able to be done, that's when the magic happens. But it's so important from the time of recruitment, then into the training, then into the support, then into, the internship, so they understand where they can go for help if they need to. Know who is the right person to go and have a conversation about things. There's so many elements to getting it right. And I think if we can get it right from a leader or from a recruitment space first, then introducing the leader or the team leader, and then putting all of the processes and implementing the right structure in place for that person to set them up for success. then I think everything else follows through. But then it's also this other section over here is having that support on a emotional level, on a physical level, not just in that work environment. I think after COVID changed a lot of things where there is a lot happening with everyone's lives, and it's so important to have so many different elements of support and structure within a workplace now to what it used to be. You used to just go to work and you'd suck it up and you'd have to do this. And where now, since COVID, there is a softness that I think has come to, the workplace. People allowed now to work from home. I think it's a great thing, but it can be really debilitating as well if you are a people person and you do need to be around people, and that's where you gain your energy. That could be, not the right not the right space for them.
Yep.
So it's not just a
magic bullet. There's no one size fits all.
It has to be individual now for the individual and for the workplace and where they're sitting. That's the way I see that everything's sort of developing these days. It's not the same as what it used to be in any industry. It's all changed. It's had to. For all of us to be able to work in an environment where we still feel supported, we feel financially looked after, but I think if we get it right from the start at recruitment, then the rest just is a beautiful marriage.
I think it's so interesting when you say the COVID's made things a little bit more softer, a little bit more understanding. It feels to me that all of a sudden, organizations realize that they're working with people, they're working with humans.
Yes.
And it's like, that's a surprise. Like, you're not just a number, you do have a life outside of work. And in fact, you should have a life outside of work, because that's the balance. We also spoke about the balance in trying to keep things in balance. I 100% agree with you, that culture side and making sure that if you can get that cultural fit in the recruitment side correct, it's just beneficial for not just the new employee, but for the organization as well. But one step before that, there needs to be a culture.
Yeah.
There needs to be an environment where we can place this person into, so we understand
who we're looking for.
Who are we looking for? What kind of person are we looking for? And I think that starts with leadership. Leadership setting the culture for an organization. And if you're even just this business, Melinda, or where you're now, or even the previous business that you work in, how do you think that there's a key thing? Like, I think trust is really important.
Yeah.
Providing that safe space.
I do think it comes back to your manager with being that certain person that can see the larger picture.
Yeah.
So for instance, I'll give you an example. So ours is the business that I work with is very much sales focused. So there's targets to reach. A good leader, team leader, will put the processes in place of how they would like them to manage that. So they give them a target each month, but then they give them the roadmap to achieve that target. So then they're supported along the way. They understand what's expected of them, and they also have a bit of a blueprint. But times they'll come off that. But a good manager will notice and ask the reasons why. Is everything okay? I just see that your performance has dropped a little bit. Is everything okay with Johnny? With Tom, your husband? Just promptly just having a conversation over a coffee. They're the things in my industry that then bring people back to their path. Then they get back on their track and they sell well again. But that's just the industry that I'm in. But I know that the same impact is with everybody when they're not 100%, when they're feeling overwhelmed, when they fall off their path. When they can't reach their targets for whatever reason. I think it's so important to have that supportive structure there that sees that, and then that just asks the appropriate questions to then allow them to open up and then they feel better about it. And especially with women, we need to talk about how we're feeling to understand it.
Yeah.
So to have someone that has, that ability to listen and to then, give some guidance if needed. If not, just listening is all that they've needed. That will bring them back on track, and then off they go again. I think that's the most important thing that I believe is important, especially in our industry is very, very cutthroat.
Yep.
It's quite abrasive. And I know that there's a lot of industries like that out there. So it is important to have a leader, with those certain qualities. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a human thing for us as humans. I know that when my performance slacks, I'm the first that picks it up.
Yes.
And then if my manager picks it up, there's one of two ways that can go, depending on the environment that you're in. The first way it can go is a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Why is it slipping? You need to get back on track. Or what's going on for you? How can we support you? I can see that your numbers are slipping. That's not a reflection on you're doing badly. That's a reflection for me of something going on for you. So that's two different approaches. And I think that's safe, creating, like you said, the leader creating that safe space where maybe at some stage you can get somebody coming to you even before there's an evidence in the numbers, if we're in a sales environment, to say, I'm really struggling with this, and knowing that you will support that person through whatever they're going through. That's a very special environment to be able to work in, that that you see me as a mum, as a sister, as a daughter, and as an employee. I'm all of those things, and all of those things need to be in balance for me to perform my best. And I also do think that 99% of people want to do their best.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I think it also comes down, if you are in a very KPI goal-driven industry, it does come down to setting clear expectations so that you're not setting people up for so you are setting people up for success. Like if they're constantly not hitting their KPIs, that's demotivating as it is for a human, and you do feel like a failure if you are time and time again not hitting your KPIs. So I think that is also one, they're probably unachievable, and two, there needs to be a conversation around what the employee thinks is achievable versus what the company needs from them. So it's setting those clear expectations so people aren't getting demotivated
and burnt out.
I think too, it's managing, making sure that you're supporting that person, making sure that you're supporting them to reach their goals. And, if they need to go back into the training space, for a month just to revisit, what their expectations are, that's when they feel supported then, and they know that they're not doing it on their own. And, it's such an important thing, I think, in the workspace, but then also outside of the workspace, to have that support in all aspects of life, because it's at times it's very it's hard. It's really, really, sometimes very difficult.
Yeah. Just wanted to add as well, I believe after COVID, there was a huge increase in wanting people to have on their resumes soft skills, like what training things have you done, or, and counseling, even if it's just a short certificate or something like that, to sort of add to your skills as a leader in any capacity, to be able to support people in the workplace.
Yeah. I think COVID, it broke down the stigma of mental health.
Yes.
I feel like there's not really a stigma around it. And I really feel like that was maybe a positive that came out of COVID, that everything did soften. There's not really a huge stigma around mental health. People do feel comfortable in acknowledging what is actually happening in their lives. Not for everybody, but for some people. So, yeah, I think,
it's getting real. Life can be absolutely amazing and so fulfilling in every aspect. And then there can be some really dark times though as well.
Yep.
And, that's, I think when we're looking at those dark times, or we're looking at those times where we're not making KPIs, or we're not feeling quite right in our environment, they're times to sit back and have a think and say, well, okay, is this the right job for me, or is this the right space for me? What is it that I actually need? So it gives time for reflection, which I think we don't get a lot of time for reflection. But the things that happen, the synchronicities in life that happen, they're to show us our path. When everything is moving forward really well, when we're feeling great about what we're doing, we're feeling supported, everything just seems to be going well, we're on the right path. If you're going to a job that isn't fulfilling you in any way, shape or form, you have no direction, you have no support, you're not feeling good about who you are, that is then the time to sit back, have a look, and really evaluate whether that is where you need to be or not.
I was sorry, Tayla. I told Tayla about this book I'm reading at the moment. It's a book called The Myth of Normal. And he specifically talks about if you're in a really toxic working environment, he spoke about work, but I think this is for relationships in general. It has a profound impact on your health. So when you say this job is killing me, it literally is killing you. And it's time, like you said, maybe just to review and step away from it, and get a little bit of perspective on, and that's where you need the support outside of work then, just that support system to have conversations with them, and real conversations, not people that tell you what you want to hear, but real conversations. I wanted to ask you, Melinda, we spoke about the work from home side, and obviously you're a sales KPI driven environment, and we didn't speak about this last week, so I'm throwing a curveball. In terms of your KPIs for the team, if somebody reaches their KPI, their target for the month, and they reach it 5 days before the end of the month, how does the company feel? And I'm putting you on a spot a little bit, maybe, I think. How does the company then feel about somebody just going, okay, I've reached my target, I've done my quarter, I've done my month. Is it okay for them to take a bit of time out? Or is it, okay, now you're working on the next quarter, you've done so well this quarter, let's get you on to the next quarter? Because it feels to me like we're in a different outcomes-driven environment.
Yes.
But you can have a tick next to done, I'm on track. And it is an individual thing, I think. But when is that great job? You've done it 5 days before the end of the month. Sit back and just enjoy it for a second. And then we jump into the next quarter. We start planning the next quarter. How does it work?
So in my industry, it is a very much commission-based.
Yes.
So if they reach their targets, then they basically will jump up to the next stage. Okay. So it's worth a lot of money for them to then go, okay, I've made this point, now let's go to the next.
For the next one.
So it's actually very, very motivating for them to reach that tier of their target, because then they jump into the next tier, and then it's all wiped, clear.
Yes, and then you start from scratch. Yes.
So they may have achieved such greatness last month, but then they only may get to here, because this is what the industry is all about. It's very up and down in sales. You're only as good as your last month, because next month you mightn't even reach your first tier target.
Correct.
So it's you have to, this is why I think it's so important for us in this particular industry to have great leaders, great managers that are very supportive of the highs and lows, because they are very high and they are very low.
Champagne and razor blades.
Absolutely. So it is, as I said before, I said it's quite abrasive, because it can be quite abrasive.
Our industry is the same. it's that, and it's an individual thing as well. I mean, you can sit back and go, well, I've done what I needed to do and I'm quite happy with that. But the real gold lies on the other side.
Yeah.
It's just the next one. But you're right, the slate's wiped clean the next quarter, and we start from scratch.
We go
And
again.
in that, there's a mental toughness and a mental awareness that you need to have. Because, I know from Tayla and myself, the first 6 months of this year were tough.
It was tough. It was an uphill battle.
It was a very big uphill battle. And just like, it will get better. It has to get better.
The penny has to drop.
The other shoe's got to go.
Yeah. Look, I mean, every industry has their own way of doing things. And look, there are some industries where they reach their targets and it's like, okay, well, I can turn off my phones now.
Yeah, I'm done.
You know, I'm all good. I can have a few days off to go and relax. I've had a really, really tough, hard month. I've pushed very hard, and now I'm going to reward myself a few days off.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that would be lovely to be in that type of industry as well. But in the one that I'm in, it's no.
No
You
rest for the
never
weekend.
stop.
Keeps going.
And I guess for you, given that you're go all the time, work-life balance would have to be huge for you. So there isn't that burnout at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, or at the end of the year too. So I guess setting those hard boundaries that, you know, a weekend's a weekend, or like these are my work hours, like and
I think too, it's allowing yourself to have that. It's taken me a long time to learn that. I've had quite a few jobs that I have burnt out, you know, and because I am so driven, you know, I'm my own worst enemy. So with this particular role now that I'm in, I have great managers in place. And my manager, he understands as well the life work balance, because, you know, we're in our 50s now. We're not young chickens. You know, we want to have that work-life balance. But, you know, that's why I can't be on the road all the time. Like, I do the whole of Queensland state. So it's a big area to cover. But I do manage it by working at home a few days a week and then on the road for a couple. Then I'm on the road for 3, and then I'm, you know, back in my work, working from home space. So, look, it does at times, you know, get you, because, you know, being a leader and a manager, you get involved in people's lives, and you're sensitive, you know, you don't want to lose that side of who you are either, because then you're not being authentic to you. So, you know, there are times, and I suppose weeks, like everybody, you get to the end of the week and you go, oh my gosh, thank God that's you know, now I need to recoup, I need to gather my thoughts, and then I need to, you know, come back Monday morning with a fresh eyes open. You can relate to people and you can jump into their story, but it's so important that then you leave it with them, and then you know, come back to you, because it gets very messy when we're all down in everyone's stuff. You know, you need to have that
separation,
line in the sand where you're able to pull them up. You know, you don't join them down here. You join them for a moment to, you know, understand, but then you know, you can join you. So, I mean, there's lots of techniques and tools, and, you know.
And giving them the tools, giving people the tools to go, I hear you, I see you, but I can't take responsibility for you, and I can provide the space with the tools and the support to help you out of the situation that you're in, or just through that period that you're going through at the time. I like that. Really good.
Yeah. And so I guess some of the key takeaways from this conversation, if you are struggling with mental health, or if you know that some of your team, if you've noticed sort of a little bit of lack in enthusiasm, or KPIs have dropped or something like that, I think it's one of the most important things is regular check-ins, and not come from sort of a manager's point of view, like step down to their level as well. So I think being really empathetic with them, and letting them know that it's okay to not be okay as well, and that the floor is open to have the conversation if they need to. So I think that's really key to, again, providing that culture, but also making sure that your employees, and as an employee, making sure that you are taking that time when you can or if you need. So if it's, stepping out for a midday walk, or actually not working on your weekends, or finishing at 5 o'clock, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you need to be really strict with yourself as well, because sometimes it's easier to just do that work. It's actually harder to go, you know what,
To
you
not
matter.
do it. Yes.
You need to step out. You need to shut the door of the office today, and you need to be able to just work from your phone or do whatever you need. I mean, you're never going to not do your job.
Yes.
But some days you just need to be very strict with yourself and give yourself time off.
Yeah. I say to Taylor a lot of the days, because she's a very driven individual.
I need to absorb what I'm actually saying.
Exactly. We're not doing brain surgery. It's not open heart surgery.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we feel like the world's going to fall and cave in if we're offline for 4 hours. It won't.
Yes.
You know when there's something that's really, really, really important to do, and the other things can wait for you just to recharge. Because it's like the analogy of putting on your mask first when a plane goes down, so that you can just recuperate, so that you can then help others again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Take note, Taylor.
Oh,
Sending you this podcast in all the transcribed languages you need.
And look, I think we are so good. We are so good at times of giving advice to other people, because I suppose it's outside of us, so we can see it and it doesn't affect us. But when it is inside of us, then we have to look at it. We have to understand it. We have to appreciate what it is. And sometimes that's really difficult to do. Sometimes you've got to be in the right space to be able to give yourself that advice. So I think that's another thing, to be able to check in and go, you know what, if I don't want to have conversations with myself, maybe I need to go and have a coffee with someone where I can, have conversations with somebody else, because you know that whatever you talk about, the answer will come. We even need to talk. That's how we get our own understanding out. So,
how much we answer our own questions,
the
more that we talk about it.
Correct.
Yes, 100% correct.
Yeah.
It's very important for us to have that social aspect, or those few people that we can go and have a coffee. No, we don't have to live in their pockets, but if we catch up once a month, it's like, oh my gosh, it just seemed like yesterday.
Correct. Those green energy people.
Yeah,
so
they're the sort of
about
people.
green energy people.
Yes. We all need that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can be that for somebody else as well, because we go through these phases of I'm okay, but you're maybe not okay, and I can be that support system for you, and that's beautiful. Love that.
On the flip side of that too, and it's again setting those boundaries to those people who don't fill up your cup, to those people that constantly drain you, and it could be people in the workplace or people in your personal life. You kind of need to take a step back from them, especially if you're drained and exhausted and you need to fill up your cup. You can't fill up anybody else's unless yours is up as well. Right. So taking a step back from those people who exhaust you and saying no. Like you can say no and be okay to just say no without an excuse.
Yes. Correct.
And, you don't have to answer straight away either. If someone asks you a question, instead of saying, oh, yes, okay, and it's people pleasing, you then go, oh, look, I just need to have a moment to think about that. I'll come back to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that gives you time to go, you know what, is this going to be good for me? Is this not going to be good?
Yeah.
You can have those conversations with yourself and then make the right decision based on what's going to be best for you.
Yeah.
Because then the right thing, the outcome from that will be the best for you, which then will be the best for everybody.
For everyone.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. And Brene Brown talks about giving yourself a little permission slip and giving yourself permission to take the time, or she she talks about going, she's a people pleaser and going, yeah, I'll bake cookies for the school and then bake the cookies. And you're so angry when you're baking the cookies. Why did I say yes to that? It's ultimately you that said yes to it. So just permission to just take a bit of time to think about how do you want to respond in this moment, and respond with kindness. But definitely don't people please, because you're running. And that's like, we're already at the end of the year, we're already at that stage where Taylor's like, it's 5 weeks and then we can have the break. And I think everybody's running towards that break now, but then we start again in January. So
I know, it's like we start the slate clean again.
And we start again.
Another year.
Another sprint. So it's almost, we're at that stage now where we've almost wrapped up 2023. We're like, okay, now we're starting to push into 2024. But we're not there yet. And we're not jumping towards that, but we're just getting our heads ready so that when that clean slate turns over on the 1st, like, okay, we've got a plan in place. We're okay. We've got the structure, like you said, and the expectations. We know where we're going.
Set some exciting goals to look forward to as well. Because it can be overwhelming stepping into a whole new year as well. So that's another sort of aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think, I know that we're talking about, we're going to talk about some tools to take away. Something that I found really, really good, and anyone can do it. I used to do colour therapy workshops, and it is so wonderful to get some colouring in, pencils, textures, paints, whatever it is, and just, play with colour. It is so incredible how that can, Taylor and I have come this morning with pink, and I wanted to change so many times, but it was like, no, I want pink today. And, that's the vibration of love and support and all of that. And it really reflects what we are talking about today. So that's how colour can transform you. And sometimes I feel like putting a red shirt on, but then I feel bold and I feel empowered and, but it's as simple as just getting a colouring in book or, a piece of paper and some textures or whatever, and just sit there and be with just colour. And it's so relaxing and just takes you away to another space, which is quite healing in itself. So over the break,
And music does the same. Sometimes Taylor's like, I'm just going to put in my headphones and I'm just listening to music because I'm doing this piece of work and I can do it with music, and music energizes as well. There's little things, small little things we can do. I think, like you said.
Finding those things that do energize you throughout the day to make that positive change as well. So, or even if it's getting crafty on a weekend or for me, it's a self-care Sunday afternoons. That's my afternoon. I do the hair, the face mask, the hair mask, the fake tan, the everything. Things that make me feel good, do my nails. So finding those things that you can implement throughout the day. Or if you are feeling overwhelmed, just sort of sit in that space and do what makes you feel good.
Give a bit of mental resilience as well.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
A lot to digest here.
It was great. A few things to unpack.
Definitely.
I think it would be maybe good to revisit and go, okay, in the beginning of next year, how do we plan mentally resilient for the year that's ahead of us, and how do we look after ourselves, that self-care as well. So we'll be revisiting you.
I think one of the goalways as well, it's really important before the end of any year to let go of, anything in the past that hasn't served you, hang on to things that serve you well, and let go of a lot of things that you don't need anymore. Let go of the past and walk into the future with some really good expectations and goals that are supported, not too overwhelming, just things to drive you just that little bit further forward, with that, having that support and that structure. I think that, because an ending is always hard for a lot of people, as we talked about at the beginning, it's an ending of this year. So, do those little things of the self-care and take care of yourself and, let go of what what you don't need to move forward into the next year. And I think, you know, we could be baggage free.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be nice? I also just want to quickly acknowledge too, if this has brought something up for any of our listeners, please do reach out to somebody, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a professional. You don't have to handle anything alone. There are things in place for you to get that support. So we'll definitely link some hotlines and some websites below of some professional agencies that you could utilize. It may be scary to ask for help, but it's actually a really strong, bold move for you as well. So I think if you acknowledge how brave you are in asking for help, that's another thing too. So there's no shame in asking for help. There's lots of resources out there that you can go to and that will support you, because we all acknowledge that this time of the year is very difficult for some people out there as well.
It's been a pleasure. I've absolutely enjoyed it this morning. And
thank you for all your time and your knowledge, and we will definitely be revisiting and having the focus on not the end of the year but the start of the year. So thank you so much. Exciting. I'm excited about 2024. It's I love the potential that something new brings, that we can
it's going to be a great, absolutely great year, 2024. You know,
bring it on, I say.
We're stepping into, you know, new environments and new spaces, and lots of good stuff.
All the options and potentials that it brings.
Yes.
Our podcasting as well. I think this will be our last guest podcast for 2023. We've got a great lined up plan for 2024. We're still talking a little bit about the coffee badging and how that's impacting the industry. And we've got some exciting titles lined up for next year. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. We really enjoyed it. And questions, please ask if there's anything that you're that you want to talk about or that you have questions about. Please reach out. And as Tayla said, we'll put all the links for any support that you might need down in the notes as well. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
So that's it for today's episode of Conversations That Connect with Montague Group. To join past and present conversations, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. And let us know what you would like to have a conversation about next.